Hello everybody, quick update. It's a Saturday and I have not been doing anything from very morning. I've been calling my friends, one friend actually, and I've been calling my parents. Just try to connect more with them, especially when I'm very far away from them. Um in this video particularly, I want to talk about stereotype stereotype about how culture is defining the way we live in a place we feel that we don't belong in. As far as I'm concerned, for the past few weeks of my life here, I am dealing with this sense of not belonging here. It's gonna be happening to me for very quite some time, I do believe, until one day I will maybe found a community or something that will make me feel good about myself, right? But until that time comes, it's just a matter of surviving and a matter of trying to do everything and fitting yourself in with the people here, right? um I don't know when will that be until I will, you know, be okay with living here and everything. But it's it's pretty fucking lonely here, right? Because you feel that you don't have friends to talk with, you don't have people that have the same goal with you, you don't do anything. Like, I am, in a sense, in that phase of loneliness, that phase of being alone where people don't really understand you, not because they don't, it's just because we're different, you know. I don't want to say that we're different in a bad way. I would say, I don't want to also say that we're different in a good way. It's just that we're different, right? And I want to talk about more about the stereotypical thing that I have thought about basically my whole life. And it has kept me in a secluded place of mine, thinking about what will be, how will be, and what if, what will be, what will if, stuff like that. Before going here in Germany, I talked to myself about, maybe there, here, well, here in Germany, there will be people who has the same mindset as me and everything. And as far as I'm concerned, I have total opposite of that. There are more people with crazier backgrounds than me, just way out of my reach. People that does, you know, fucking drugs everywhere in the streets, um, carrying knives, um, in some alleyway, you know, homeless people going in the train, begging for money, stuff like that. That um, as a German yourself, you probably are not so, like, you don't understand. Like, bro, that's just chill stuffs. Um, and I do understand that. I want to respect that people here are normalizing it, um, because it has been their culture, right? Um, and it is not a good or a bad culture in a way. Um, when you think about it, it is just a culture. It's different. Um, and maybe that's the bad stuff that I was mentioning. There's some neutral stuff that it just happens to be bad for me because I came from a different culture. Things like you don't, you literally, you like rejections here or unfriendliness here are respect in a sense. And it is true. I thought that people here are much more tolerant, especially the young ones. Um, on the street and everything, I try to talk with them, um, and I understand that people from like actual fucking Germans understand like, bro, like shut the fuck up, bro. We don't care about those shits, so we don't talk about those shits. Um, and I do respect those kind of arguments because that's their culture. I'm just, at the end of the day, I'm just a visitor, right? I'm just a person who goes into a country and I had to fit in. It's not the other way around. They don't need to fit into myself because why would they? They're the majority. You know, that's how they live. Um, and it goes the same way to, let's say, us Indonesians, us Asians, right? Who um who sees foreigners coming outside my country to the country, right? And it's gonna be the same for them because they'll feel this sense of not belonging. They'll feel the sense of just this shitness. And I do find it very interesting that I am trying my best to find some good perks of living here. Sometimes those kind of perks are very, very obvious to me when I was still in my homeland. Things that are good about my own country and everything because I've lived there for like 17 years. I understand it quite good already. But here, because you feel everything is just shit, you kind of force yourself to find things manually and it doesn't just come up automatically. You need some brain power to reason if it's actually worth it to live here, right? And yeah, I mean, I've talked with a lot of other foreigners here about people who has lived for years now, and they said the same things. I mean, sure, I can't say that um they have the same. They're gonna my life in the next years are gonna be the same as theirs, but at the end of the day, I'm just trying to take out these opinions, these experiences, and they talk about things like how, you know, if they will choose, they will definitely not settle in here, stuff like that. They will not settle here. They will not, um, it's gonna be a really bad thing for them to settle here because they'll indefinitely lose this self of this sense of self, this sense of their own culture that they have been growing since they were born in their home country, right? So at the end of the day, somehow it's actually very easy for them to see that, but they're still living here, right? um and when I was in my homeland, I already heard about how Germans are very not friendly. How just the shit part about Germany. It's not a shit part. It's just a different part, really. At the end of the day, the reason why it's shit is because I came from a country where things are very soft. In a scale, it's very soft. It doesn't mean that it's actually soft. It's just that sometimes in a certain experiences in certain things, it is softer. And the things that it's okay for them to be harsh, because I do respect that. That's their own culture. But I do see that there needs to be also a respect back to um to people that are not used to with these kind of cultures. Now, obviously, as I said before, I am a visitor, and that's why I need to fit in the country, but the country does not need to fit into me. But and that makes sense. Um, but respect is something that I feel happens. Uh, Respect that some it's only something that is useful when two people are doing it to each other. It's only gonna work that way. Otherwise, no. Um, and it's hard to find that here somehow. And I'm not trying to generalize Germany as a whole, but I am trying to just understand it more, right? And I do respect that, you know. So the next thing that I really want to talk about is, yeah, as I said before, I've been watching a lot of videos on social media about how Germany is like this, and this. The shit parts about it, the different part about it, um, and about how things are like this and that, and it didn't really come to the sense of me before I actually experienced it. And when I actually experienced it, I try to neglect it. I try to ignore it. I try to force myself to say to myself, hey, this is the shit part. Obviously, there's the good part, even though that part is just the same. So if it's shit for you, it's gonna be shit for the other parts, in a sense. Like, there's no, there's not gonna be any change. There are people who are friendly here, but there are also gonna be people who are unfriendly here. And perhaps it's just something that and there's gonna be people who do drugs here. There are people who smoke weeds in their fucking house with other people, with other roommates who does not like that. But at the end of the day, it's just a cultural thing, right? People, maybe it's not the culture of Germany itself, but maybe it's just a culture that are grown in Germany. And so at the end of the day, it's hard to accept that well, you can't change anymore. You cannot change the world. I really like this one quote that really reflects how the world is, and I really want to stand by it. And even though it's really hard, even though it's really challenging to do that, the quote goes something like this: maybe I won't change the world, but I surely won't let the world change me. Um, in some certain sense, the first line is true. I can't change people who are not friendly to me. I can't change people who, you know, are not uh, are not going into they're not behaving like I want them to behave, right? But the second part is a hard one because now, even though you cannot change them, there's gonna be this gap between you and them. And not that this gap is necessary to be filled, but you're gonna feel shit for the rest of your life if you don't do that. For the rest of your life living there. And so you let you change them because they are not gonna change themselves according to you. The only way to do that is change yourself according to them. And that is where the second line of the quote fails. And it's hard to understand that, and it's hard to accept that, right? I also want to talk about how stereotype in the world in general is just flawed. The perception that we have, the informations that we're given. I want to start by talking about how visiting a country is an 180 degrees change with living there. If you visit Germany, you can say all the good stuffs about it. You know, how it is a very cool country with all of these old buildings and very beautiful scenery and work-life balance, and the people here are very open to tourists. And but then when you live in Germany, you're not a tourist anymore. So the people here are expecting something that it basically means they have to live with you in this country, and they want something back, which is you going according to their culture. And um and that's what I'm saying. If you're a tourist, you don't need, you can say whatever you want. You can say that Germany is shit, and not even a single person is gonna give a shit. Even though, yeah, sure, it is a violation according to the laws and everything here, but like, you're not really gonna get any consequence because you're just a tourist anyway. If you're a tourist, you're gonna go back to your country anyway. But now you're here. If you're here, you're living here. If you say that Germany is shit, you're gonna get killed. Like, in a sense, like, not literally, but in a sense, it's gonna be a really big problem for you because you're here, and it's just it's just like that. And I also want to talk about, yeah, as I said before, how our perception is flawed. This is what I see on countries. First one is Singapore. Singapore is just such a beautiful country because I just visited it, and it was great, and I have this urge to live there. Now, mind me, all of these things that I'm saying right now comes from my own experience, which are flawed because I have not actually lived there according to my experience, right? So I want to live there because I see that the people there can actually relate to me because I'm Asian. They're Asians too. Not that it's a race thing, but it's more of a. It's not about like the skin colors thing. I don't really give a shit about that, but the culture, right? The culture. And what else? let's say America, you know, New York. I've been dreaming to go to New York, and have this whole American dream because the media is keep saying just keep saying about how New York is so rich, about how Silicon Valley and everything, the people there getting paid very big, and the diversity there very nice. There are a lot of people from every country, including Asians like me. Um, and the startup, the startup culture there is much bigger than it is in a lot of than any other countries, and how people there are very hardworking, and that's my view, on America. But that's just Silicon Valley and, well, New York, as I said. So that's not US as a whole. I know that there are a lot of other places that are like that, but I know, but I just like I I have to tell myself that you know at the end of the day, that's just your perception. There are gonna be places that are not gonna be like that in America, USA, right? And I'm thinking about places like China. I'm thinking about places like China, and the first thing that goes in my mind is just, oh, it's China. There are gonna be a lot of people like me because I have Chinese blood myself. Not being racist here, it's just that the culture is probably gonna be have. I'm gonna have some similarities with them. Um, but again, that's just my perception. I don't know. A lot of people that, a lot of my friends that goes there study, they ended up not really giving a shit about that. They, I mean, what else about China? About how China is really technological, digital, this whole, you know, a lot of rich people is in it, a lot of rich, like a lot of money is flowing in it. China, um, and that's actually one thing because I had two choice: either go to Germany or I go to China, and both requires this, language thing, and I gotta pick one because I can't speak both language, right? Both languages, and so I chose Germany. Not really, I'm not sure why that time, but I suppose because I chose Germany and there was a choice to go to China, I, in a sense, I started looking for bad things in China because all of the good things in Germany it's not coming up, you know, it's just not according to my plan, but how things are working out, you know what I'm saying? Um and so I started talking shit, but not really talking shit, it's just about this whole mindset thing about oh, it's fine, you didn't pick China because it's shit anyway. And it was my perception for a very long time. Um, and I know I shouldn't be having those stuffs. It's just this coping mechanism, lying to yourself, lying to people, believing that you have made the right choice. And not saying that Germany is not the right choice for me, because it's too early to tell. And is there actually a right or a wrong choice at the first place? But again, you could argue that this question arises just because I'm trying to with myself by just saying that, hey, it's fine. Um, and so all of this perception, but Singapore, USA, China, South Korea, Japan, Australia, UK, Canada, Europe, Africa, South America, anything that, like, anything really about my own home country, Southeast Asia, um, Middle East, you know, like, it has formed this whole mindset of me, and I just realized that we don't really, because the things that are in the media, or the informations they're in the Wikipedia or something like that, I are not valid, because it's not us that are writing those stuffs. And in order for us to write those stuff, we need to have experiences in those countries as well. And the life of every single person is different. And so there are gonna be a lot of hidden things that you just don't know, that are just shit. And at the end of the day, you are you are surprised that your expectations is not the reality. And you're surprised, and you feel regret, and you feel that you're being lied to, and you feel shit about yourself. And you keep asking to yourself, damn, was I really that dumb to fall on things that I like? Was I just coping that time? Why did I cope? Why wasn't I instead do something that will make me be ready on the shit stuffs? Why was I doing all of this stupid things? Why is why am I building this whole fantasy that this place that I'm gonna be settling in for the next whatever years of my life is just such a heaven, because people told me about it, so I don't know, right? But at the end of the day, I realized something, and it's that if you're gonna go try to find a better life in a whole different country, in a whole different place, just realize that it's gonna be 100% different from what you think it's gonna be. Even though there are gonna be some similarities with the things that you think, with the things that you expect, but it's gonna be 100% different with what you expect, with what you dreamt of, because it's not gonna be it's not gonna be good to realize those these kind of thoughts now. It doesn't feel good. And I know it comes from experience. Now I do have the experience, maybe I can learn from it. But it's just about that. And I do have watched some I did watch some videos, like the video that I'm making right now on YouTube when I was still in my homeland, about how Indonesia, or I guess Indonesians or people from my country, if they want to go out, it's gonna be shit. And I try to ignore it. I try to ignore the fact that that information is also perhaps possibly as valid as the information that are saying that Germany is good. I try to ignore those stuffs because the time has almost come, and when the time did come, look at me. I'm feeling it right now. I'm feeling the heavy weight. I felt shit, dumb, being lied to, and all of things at the same time. I feel that even though I'm saying all of these dumb things, like I feel like I'm feeling dumb, stuff like that, people are gonna say, yeah, you are dumb because you can't take such things, because you can't, because you're shit. You have been living in a soft place for a very long time, the comfort zone for a very long time. Now you're going out and now you're here and you feel shit about yourself. Well, yeah, how about that, bro? And I do respect those people because maybe they have experienced some shit times in their life too. And but I do respect more but people who can understand me, because I do think that in a sense, if one day I do have a bunch of experiences, life lessons and everything, I don't want to be judging people that may seem that they're just out of this world, just so spoiled, people who can't take the reality of life. Because at the end of the day, I realized that we are all different. We came from different backgrounds, we came from different cultures, and I'm feeling it now. But one thing that I realize is that you can't be, well, one thing I realize is that you can't be always in a comfort zone, right? But at the same time, it doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. So I guess that's really it. But the things that I really want to say, um, yeah, just about this whole thing that I'm experiencing. I talked about it with my friends, talked about it with my parents, and keep talking about how it will get better, how I will fit in much faster, how I will try that everything's gonna be okay. And even though I'm not a big fan of that statement that everything's gonna be okay, because I'm more of a guy who, asks back, how though? Why will it be okay? Um, but I do respect them saying that. Sometimes people does not have same experiences, the same beliefs, same things. People are different, and it's just the way we speak, just the way we exchange informations is really what matters at the end of the day. Yeah, it's it's gonna be tough for next few years of my life. For And this toughness is very subjective, very relative. Some people will face it much faster. Some people will understand it much faster. But it's okay because everybody is gonna be different. Some people will take much longer than me probably. But who am I to say, because I have not passed that level yet. I have not passed that phase yet. So that's really about it. Sometimes I'm mad, but myself, but other people. But then I realized, yeah, we're just not the same, bro. And that's not a bad thing. It's just how it is. Every Everybody's different. I just gotta accept it for the time to come. That's all about it.